PA, Representative McNeil's office, and other public officials and business leaders who are with us, it is my pleasure to welcome you back to B. Braun's Allentown Medical Device Manufacturing Facility. Governor, 3 years ago, we were proud to have you and many other public officials and business leaders here to cut the ribbon on our $200 million, 310,000 square foot expansion project. This shop and most of the clean rooms down the corridor were empty back then. It looks a lot different now, and we are well positioned for future growth. At the time, we made a commitment to grow our business in the Lehigh Valley, and we are here today to announce the latest investments B. Braun is making at this facility. The $20 million investments we are making over the next 3 years and the employees we will hire will address the growing need for life-sustaining infusion products and therapy equipment across the country. We appreciate the opportunity to partner with DCED and the Shapiro administration to help make these investments possible. We are growing in the Lehigh Valley and in Pennsylvania because we have a long history here and of finding skilled workers, high-quality suppliers, training partners, and a business environment that enables us to compete and win in the marketplace. The Lehigh Valley also has the quality of life and the culture we need to retain our talent. Our people love living and working here, and they love giving back. Even today, many of our employees are just down the street participating in the United Way Day of Caring event at a nonprofit organization. I want to thank our dedicated employees here at the Allentown plant and across Pennsylvania for all you do to ensure the supply of high-quality medical products to our customers. I also want to recognize our apprentices who are here with us today. You represent the next generation of skilled talent who will help B. Braun meet the future needs of patients and healthcare providers across the country. This is where I began my career 40 years ago, and I hope 40 years from today, many of you will still be able to say the same thing. And now it is my honor to introduce the 48th Governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro.
Thank you. Rob, thank you very much. It is wonderful to be back with you and with your employees here at B. Braun, all these wonderful elected leaders. And before I build on the comments you made, I would like to just focus for a moment on a different topic. And I want to take a moment to talk about the tragic shooting yesterday in York County, Pennsylvania, that claimed the lives of 3 extraordinary law enforcement officers from the Northern York County Regional Police Department and injured 2 other law enforcement officials. I just think it is important to note again, and I know you all join me in this, in acknowledging that those who serve and protect our Commonwealth, they're the best of us. They really are. They put on a uniform every single day. They kiss their families and their loved ones goodbye, and they go out into our streets, out into our communities, and they work hard to keep us safe. And I know their families pray every day that they're going to come home to them at night. 3 of those families didn't have their loved ones come home to them last night. I think it's also important to remind all of us that policing is a noble profession, and it is a respected profession. We respect the work they do in times of tragedy, like yesterday, and in times of triumph every day when they go out and do things necessary to keep us safe. I think it's also important to acknowledge what these families do. These families that stand behind those who put on their uniforms. The women and men of law enforcement have loved ones they can lean on that allow them to go out and do their work every day. I got to spend a little bit of time yesterday with the families of those who were shot and, thank God, are going to recover. They've got a long road ahead of them. And I just found it so striking that while they were there in the hospital worried about the well-being of their family members, they were also just so proud of how their family members put that uniform on yesterday and ran out toward danger to keep others safe. So I think we need to keep those families in our prayers, those families who were touched by violence yesterday in our prayers. And I think it is important that they all know that we collectively have their backs. And so from York County to here in the Lehigh Valley, I want all law enforcement to know that we salute them, we appreciate them, and we're going to continue to support them. I think the work they do makes days like today possible. Think about it. The days where we can be optimistic about our future, the days where we can think about building something. And it's because we have people who are there on the front lines who are worried about our safety and well-being. And so they allow us the opportunity to focus on the kinds of things that Rob was talking about before. Things that are creative, things that are innovative, things that create jobs and opportunity for our apprentices here, where we can create devices that are quite literally going to save lives. And so to the law enforcement that go out there and do that, they give us an opportunity here in the Lehigh Valley to do promising things. And so today is a promising day for Allentown, and for the Lehigh Valley, today is a promising day for B. Braun, and I believe today is a promising day for America, because what happens here at B. Braun positively impacts the United States, positively impacts those who are facing real needs. So today is a day to celebrate B. Braun and our entire community. This, of course, has been an amazing medical manufacturing facility since 1957. And since 1979, it's been owned by B. Braun. And over the decades, B. Braun again and again has shown its commitment to not just growing, but to growing right here in the Lehigh Valley. It says a lot, particularly in this changing economic environment. Companies pick up and leave all the time. B. Braun planted real roots here, and they've stayed here. And you know, I think it is important to note all these elected leaders who are here. This is somewhat atypical, but they're here today because they believe in you, and you've shown a belief in them and the constituents that they represent. And so I think that that's an important note that we can't look past. I know that local leaders have all had a hand in making sure B. Braun has what it needs and is able to grow here in the Valley. Leaders like Don Cunningham, and then their elected representatives in Harrisburg, Senator Boscola and Senator Miller, Representative Siger, and others. They have support from their county executive and their mayor here at home to make sure that their supports are in place. And I know Chamber of Commerce, led by a person always dressed better than me, Tony Iannelli, and others, make sure that those connections are real and they're supportive. You know, just about 3 years ago, B. Braun, as you heard before, completed a major expansion project to add on to this facility. I was there that day. I got to see the optimism of the folks here at B. Braun. It's amazing to come back and see those empty spaces now filling up with more capacity and more opportunity to do even more. They've been working hard to create community every step of the way. B. Braun, I think it's important to note, was a founding partner of the Industrial Training and Education Consortium of the Lehigh Valley, this regional apprenticeship program that I think is so important. Today, more than 1,700 of our neighbors work here at this facility, including 11 of those apprentices. You're going to hear from one of them in a moment. I think apprenticeships are incredibly important. We have doubled our funding in Pennsylvania to support the creation of new apprenticeship programs and support those that exist. And I got to thank Senator Boscola, Senator Miller, Representative Siger for their affirmative votes to be able to do just that. We've come together on a bipartisan basis to invest in apprenticeship programs, and we're going to continue to do that work. I know that B. Braun is now going to use this new investment to build more of the cutting edge products that let doctors and nurses across Pennsylvania and across this country perform these life-saving treatments. In fact, B. Braun is going to use this to produce more materials for infusion therapies, and increasingly they're going to develop ways to tackle cancer and autoimmune disorders. This is really important stuff. And you know, they're going to create a whole lot of new jobs in the process. So as they're working to save lives and create product, they're going to create 200 more jobs at least here in the Lehigh Valley, 200 more places of opportunity here in our Commonwealth. And we're going to have opportunities for people like Tessa, who you're going to hear from in a moment. Tessa is a second generation B. Braun employee. She's an apprentice who took after her pop. He's now, I understand, watching the live stream because he works the night shift. So Dad, we're going to finish this up. You can go back to bed, and then we'll see you at work later today. But she's learning how to work on this state-of-the-art equipment and work on doing things that are going to save lives all across this country. We're proud to not only invest in this expansion, we're proud to invest in people like Tessa. We need more Tessas and more folks like all of you, not just here in the Lehigh Valley, but all across Pennsylvania. And we know that when we invest in Tessa, when we invest in B. Braun, when we invest in these expansions, we know that it creates opportunities not just here in the Lehigh Valley, but all across Pennsylvania. I want you to consider this, and I brag about this behind your backs because I think this is a real testament to your company. B. Braun sourced nearly $200 million in raw materials, equipment, and services from over 100 suppliers here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So when B. Braun does well, other companies in Pennsylvania do well. And I think that says a lot. They're not only located here, they're sourcing their materials from right here. We believe in that integration, the kind of work that B. Braun is doing, and we're focused on it, and we are investing in it. In our administration, led by Secretary Rick Siger, we now have an economic development strategy that tries to connect those dots. And we're focused really on 5 pillars of our economy and funding those areas. One of those pillars is life sciences. Another is manufacturing. And all of you are involved in supporting that. We are grateful for your work in that space. When it comes to life sciences, I think B. Braun is well positioned to help Pennsylvania grow in a space where I think we have explosive growth opportunities. When you think about the life sciences world out there, you know, there's probably 2 communities that really stand out, and it pains me to say this, the Bay Area and Boston, and I hate the Celtics. So to talk about Boston in any affirmative way is really hard for me. But then there's this massive drop for whoever comes next. I think there's an opportunity to grow and to get in that 3rd place slot, and then we'll see what happens from there. And I think Pennsylvania is poised to be able to do that, and B. Braun is one of the important companies that's going to help us with that growth and to help us compete with those other areas that are doing really remarkable things when it comes to life sciences. So look, in closing here, I just want to thank Rob and his team for continuing to bet on Pennsylvania. Again, we appreciate that you've been here for decades, you individually, but we appreciate that in your role as the leader of this great company, you're ensuring that B. Braun will be here for decades to come. So I want to thank you for that. I believe Pennsylvania is on the rise. We are growing economically again. I'm a pro-growth governor, and we are seeing the results of the hard work that we've put in place over the last couple of years finally pay off. And it's companies like B. Braun who are setting a new standard for us all across this Commonwealth. While I'm proud of our growth, we're not resting on our laurels. We got a lot of work to do. And so we're going to keep growing here in the Lehigh Valley. We're going to keep growing across Pennsylvania with the great partners I have in that work and with all of you. So I want to thank you very much for having us here today. I want to thank you for bringing some positivity into our day here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania after we've been dealing with a lot of tragedy and sadness. And with that, it really is my pleasure now to introduce someone who is incredibly important to this process, the aforementioned Tessa, who is going to come up and talk about her role here at B. Braun and her important contributions to this great company. Tessa McLean, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Governor Shapiro. As you said, I am Tessa McLean, and not only am I a 2nd-generation B. Braun employee, I'm also a 3rd-generation tradeswoman. My grandfather worked at Bethlehem Steel in its heyday. My mother currently works as a design drafter in the Lehigh Valley, and my father at B. Braun. When I started here almost 4 years ago, I was just a technician. Even though it is an important role, I felt like I could do more. And B. Braun has given me that opportunity after I worked my butt off to be one of the best technicians I could be. And they gave me this opportunity to not only go back to school, but to learn under some of the most experienced and skilled craftspeople in the Lehigh Valley that I have ever met. The ability to learn all these concepts in class and then to turn around and talk to my mentors about the actual functionality and the reason why we do all these things that we do, and to also know in the back of my mind that if anything happens to any of my family, they are hooked up to my products, and it will save their lives. This all has just been so surreal, in all honesty. And I am so grateful to just be here to be able to promote this for you, because this is life-changing. This is changing the whole course of where I am going to go in life, and I could not be happier. My overall goal is to become a process engineer, not only skilled in the trades, but also skilled in process and how things should work and to get better. And I believe that the only way I can be the best engineer I can be is to be the best mechanic that I can be. So, with that, I would like to thank not only Governor Shapiro, I would also like to thank everybody at B. Braun for giving me this chance, everybody at Northampton Community College to give me this chance and help me through this. And I would also like to introduce the Secretary of Communication and Developmental Education, Rick Siger.
Thanks, Tessa. Awesome job. Awesome.
Thank you, Tess. Great job. Good job here. Good morning, everybody. You know, I usually make a joke when I have to go right after Governor Shapiro, like, oh, it's really tough to go off the governor, but it's really tough to go after you, Tessa. So stick with me. It's really good to be here. Honored to join the governor. Of course, many folks who have been acknowledged. I always say economic development's a team sport. And, you know, the team of public and private and civic leaders here in the Lehigh Valley are really like one of the very best, not just in Pennsylvania, but I believe in the country. And I think there's a couple of folks from our team too here, Fadia and Alicia. I know everyone here knows them already. We appreciate their leadership as kind of our frontline team in this region. You know, I will say we're thrilled that this expansion is taking place here for B. Braun, but I'm not really surprised, actually. Life science companies are growing and creating jobs in Pennsylvania. They're planting a flag here as a premier location for a life science ecosystem. From early stage companies and startups to international global manufacturers like B. Braun, we are thriving in life sciences. We're home to more than 3,000 life science companies, which account for more than 100,000 jobs and $62 billion in direct economic impact across our state. And I would say that that's not an accident. It's supported by our assets, our world-class academic institutions that are leaders in research and education, our strong regional biotech hubs, including the Lehigh Valley, and supported by, as the governor mentioned, bold leadership and a 10-year plan that's prioritized life sciences as a real growth opportunity for Pennsylvania. We're proud today to make a strategic investment alongside B. Braun to help support your expansion, to grow not just this industry, but your supply chain partners around the state. And I'm really proud to say that this project in particular, I think, is a great example of our new proactive approach to business retention and attraction activities, working alongside existing companies to help them grow and thrive here. Look, my job, the job the governor asked me to do when I came, was to make Pennsylvania more competitive. And today is a day where I think we can say we're succeeding. When a major household name in a critical targeted sector like B. Braun chooses Pennsylvania, it's a signal that we're open for business. And so really my main message to you, Rob, and to this entire team is thank you. Thank you for believing in Pennsylvania and for making this investment. And thank you for helping us prove again that Pennsylvania gets it done. And with that, I want to introduce someone who I've learned a lot from in this job, who's been a real partner to us as part of that team sport. A man who's had most jobs in this region and currently leads the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Organization. Don Cunningham, please.
A lot of jobs.
That's a lot of jobs. Yeah, a lot of jobs. Haven't been able to keep one. This one, but I'm very fortunate to be able to speak on behalf of the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation, which is just a big coalition of the willing, of our large employers, of our education institutions, our large governments, and our regional partnerships like the Chamber of Commerce, the county, and so forth. And it's my honor to be here, and I really want to, usually I've had the great fortune of listening to Governor Shapiro speak many times. And usually after he's done speaking, I pretty much think nobody else needs to talk. He said everything he needs to say. But today, listening to Tessa, that is an unbelievable message, because I think Tessa captured the core of what makes the Lehigh Valley work. 3 generations committed to working hard, to making products, to learning skills, to committing to growing a manufacturing economy. Tessa, you, your colleagues, and all the folks here at B. Braun just make this son of a steel worker so proud that we're still doing what we do. To Rob Albert and the folks here at B. Braun, we couldn't be more proud. Rob, Lehigh Valley native, educated in Pennsylvania schools, worked here from the beginning of his career, now running the company, and today recommitting to grow and to expand. A lot of people don't realize that 70% of jobs that are created in our market are companies growing organically. They're retaining and staying. We're fortunate that 30% come in new, but 2/3 of our growth comes from companies doubling down on the Lehigh Valley, and they do it because of a workforce like here at B. Braun. And finally, to Governor Shapiro, to Secretary Siger, to those of us who represent us in Pennsylvania, thank you for your unbelievable commitment to the Lehigh Valley, unbelievable commitment to economic development. I know we have a new slogan in Pennsylvania. There's an old one. I'm old enough to remember when it used to say, "We've got a friend," or "You've got a friend in Pennsylvania." That may be an old slogan, but it's certainly true today that we've got a friend in the Lehigh Valley coming from Pennsylvania, coming from Harrisburg, in your administration and your leadership. Thank you for what you're doing here on behalf of all of us. Thank you.
That's all right. You know, we're pleased to be able to make this strategic investment in B. Braun today. That's possible because I have partners in the General Assembly who see to it that we have the resources for economic development. And I'm blessed we've got two of those partners here who continuously step up and put up the votes in order to make sure the Lehigh Valley gets its fair share. So I want you to hear first from Senator Miller and then from my other partner, Senator Boscola. Senator Miller.
Well, thank you, Governor. It's always great to have you here in the Lehigh Valley. And as it's been mentioned, you know, the Lehigh Valley has in its bones the manufacturing sector. We actually have 50% higher in terms of national average. We're 50% higher in density of manufacturing here in the Lehigh Valley. And that's testament to the long history of companies, whether it's B. Braun, the Mack trucks, the Victaulics, Air Products, and the governor stepping up with investments like these, tying our industry partners to our education partners as well. That's where we want to see more progress, and that's where the governor is delivering. That effective leadership of saying our educational entities and institutions have to be matching and meeting the demand of industries. And we've seen that. And it's been phenomenal to work with you, Governor, and Senator Boscola and others on making that happen and seeing those multi-generational jobs here in the Lehigh Valley. It's exciting. I mean, the Lehigh Valley's got diversity, one of the fastest growing regions in the Commonwealth, the industry partners stepping up to make these things happen. So with that, I want to turn it over to one of my colleagues, Senator Boscola. Thank you very much.
It's another great day here in the Lehigh Valley, brought courtesy of you, Governor Shapiro. Not only has he been here twice in like 3 years, the Lehigh Valley multiple times. And I can't recall, since I've been in office, how many times a governor has been committed to the Lehigh Valley. I know the company, you know, B. Braun, I don't know if you know this, but Governor Rendell at the time came here too when I was in office. So that's 3 times that B. Braun has had a governor in their presence. And I don't know what other company across this Commonwealth can actually say that. It's pretty amazing and a testament to B. Braun and what you do. I would like to say your commitment to economic development across this Commonwealth here in the Lehigh Valley is really paying off. From our largest businesses to our Main Street communities, all across the valley and across the Commonwealth, we are stronger. Our Pennsylvania is growing stronger because we have cut taxes, we cut red tape, and we're investing. And that's why the governor is here today too, about investing in B. Braun. And companies like B. Braun, you are the backbone of a strong economy, and you understand. When you were running for governor and you were here, we celebrated B. Braun's expansion just a few short years ago. You deliver on your promises, and I'm looking forward, Governor, to working with you again and again to make more of these announcements and making sure we get stuff done.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. By the way, I hope you noticed how Senator Boscola works. She said, I'm looking forward to more announcements, and she kind of gave me a little side eye there, which means we've got to come back to the Lehigh Valley and make more good news, and we are going to do that. And so I just want to thank you, Senator. I hope it's not lost on anyone. You know, these are two senators, just as an example, who fought to make sure that we invested an historic amount of money in public education, including doubling our funding for things like VOTEC and apprenticeship programs. And now look at the connection. We've got more apprentices than ever before across Pennsylvania. Tessa is an example of that. And so you make these strategic investments in education, you make these strategic investments directly in a company, good things happen. So I want to thank them again for their partnership in the legislature. They've been great. And with that, Tessa's agreed to take questions from the media. Are you ready? No? Go ahead. If you guys have any questions, we're happy to answer. Yep.
Governor Shapiro, with regard to what had occurred in York County, how are the two officers doing this morning? And at this point in time, where does the investigation go from here?
I'm not going to comment on the investigation for, I think, obvious reasons. As it relates to those two officers, they were described by the medical professionals as being in critical but stable condition. They're expected to make a full recovery, and they're expected to have a long road ahead, and just ask everybody pray for them. The physicians at WellSpan did an extraordinary job. I thought it was interesting when I was there yesterday, there were a number of trauma surgeons who had raced to the scene to be there, even though it was their day off. They weren't working, and yet they wanted to be there because in case their unique skills were needed to help these officers, they wanted to be there. And so it was all hands on deck. The doctors, the nurses, the healthcare professionals, they did a great job, and thank God they did.
Can you confirm the identity of the shooter as man?
I'm not going to confirm the identity of any of the parties involved. I'll leave that to the district attorney and local law enforcement. I do want to, I should have said this at the top, and I apologize. I want to thank Colonel Paris and the Pennsylvania State Police. They've taken over patrols in Northern York County Regional Police Department. They're also leading on the investigation together with the local district attorney, and they're doing terrific work. And so to Colonel Paris, Lieutenant Colonel Bivens, and to all the members of those troops that are now stepping up and doing extra shifts and extra work, we really appreciate them. They'll speak to the specifics of the investigation going forward.
Do you think this incident will change how police respond?
I just can't hear you. You're going to have to.
Will this incident change how police respond and investigate domestic situations?
I think it's important to not get ahead of the investigation. They'll speak about what occurred here and what lessons can be drawn from it.
Governor, can you provide an update on the budget? There seemed to have been some hope that the transit deals the last week or so would kind of grease the wheels.
Yeah. I mean, look, I introduced my budget 226 days ago. I've been very clear about my priorities. And during that time, the Republican leadership of the Senate has only convened the Senate less than 30 days. Okay, so I introduced my budget 226 days ago. They've bothered to come to work, I think, 29 days, through no fault of these two senators who I know would be there every day trying to hammer this out. So I'm frustrated that the legislature hasn't done its job. I'm frustrated that they haven't done what they are, frankly, supposed to do. It's their one job is to put a budget on my desk. I think what the Senate of Pennsylvania needs to do now is figure out how they can find 26 votes for a package that can pass in the Senate and also pass in the House. We have a divided government. We've got a Senate led by Republicans and a House led by Democrats. Everyone has to compromise. I have run back and forth between the leaders of both chambers all summer. We have narrowed the differences. They know what the specific differences are, and it's up to them now to make some tough decisions. Listen, I can't write the budget, propose the budget, vote on the budget, and sign the budget. I can do 3 of those 4 things, but at some point, they got to show up for work and vote on the budget. The time has long passed for the Republicans in the state Senate to convene the Senate and pass something that can also pass in the House and get to my desk for my signature.
I had a follow-up to that. You guys, your administration approved funding for SEPTA and the Pittsburgh. what's in store for the smaller authorities like Atlanta?
Atlanta, yeah. Look, I was out pushing hard together with Senator Boscola, Senator Miller, and all of your representatives, Schlossberg, Schweier, all of them. We stood together. I think we were at St. Luke's, if I'm not mistaken. I'm always standing with them on a day when it's 300 degrees in the Lehigh Valley. It's nice to be in a climate-controlled environment with you guys today. And what we were hoping to do was be able to get recurring funding for all mass transit across Pennsylvania, because mass transit's an important issue in each of our 67 counties. The Republican leaders in the Senate made clear that they were not going to pass recurring funding for mass transit. Their leadership stated that publicly, and so we were forced to basically adjust the funding, the capital dollars that were available for SEPTA and PRT, which is out in Pittsburgh, and allow them to use it over the next couple of years for operations. It is my hope that we can come back to this, that the Senate will rethink their opposition to recurring revenue and fund mass transit agencies like Atlanta, which are so critical here in the Lehigh Valley.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks everybody.